I wanted to do like a real slow welcome because, normally I like scream welcome to the sky, So, and there's no such thing as like a mid welcome. So I kind of got torn in mid welcome. So it's like, welcome to the Louie Bellina Show, Monday edition. The Louie Bellina Show presented by CC Electric. I find myself in this torn, kind of conflicted state of existence. The summer edition of the Louie Bellina Show, gone. My Fridays, I'm here. Normally June, July, and this is August. So let us be clear. Normally June, July, I'm not here on Fridays. I want to thank Caleb. I want to thank Tony Catalina of Gig'em 247. They held down the fort on Fridays. I hope you had a good time with them. I've heard nothing but amazing things. So awesome to hear that everybody had fun. I spend my Fridays in the world. I'm traveling. I'm eating barbecue. I'm drinking beers I've never had. I visit friends. I live life. I have a good time. Well, it's over. Fall, we'll say college football is much better than the word fall, really, to identify what's going on. College football is here. I am back to the normal edition of the Louie Bellina Show, Monday through Friday, 11 to 2. And it's been really odd for 14 years. That 11 to 2 was somewhat of a lie. We had Studio 12 live at 1 o'clock on Wednesday and 1 o'clock on Friday. But I'm not going to sit there and go, yeah, Monday, Thursday, and Tuesday, I'm 11 to 2. And Wednesday, Friday, we're 11 to 1. That's overly complicated. That's too much information. Well, guess what? Friday was the last Studio 12 live. Want to thank Matt. Want to thank Will. Want to thank Andrew Monaco. 14 years. 14 years. That's a long time. So now it is the Louie Bellina Show, Monday through Friday, 11 to 2. The end. We are starting a week by week by week ramp up to the fall edition. There's going to be a lot of new guests. There's going to be a lot of new features. And, of course, familiar friends. A lot of familiar friends. And each week, as we go by, heading up to game week, we'll be introducing what the fall edition of the Louie Bellina Show is going to look like. The high school football update will be returning, thanks to Kelly Burt-Dozer. Matter of fact, we're going to be doing high school football previews. A&M Consolidated, College Station High, Rudder, Bryan High, Navasota. And that begins, I don't know if it's this Friday or a week from today, Monday. Bryce Jones, Barbecue Pitmaster, Smoke and Aces competition team. He returns this Friday, 12 noon. Tony Catalina of Gig'em 247 is expanding to the entire noon hour on Wednesdays. He's been with me Wednesdays for a full year now, but he's going to be the entire noon hour on Wednesdays. Dude never shuts up, man. He always has something to say. And he walked into my office, slammed his fist on my table and demanded more time. And I just put my hands up. I'm like, dude, okay, man, whatever you do, just stop screaming. If you know Tony, you realize how absurd that is. I was like, hey, man, we always have more to say. Want more time? He's like, that would be cool. I agree. So Tony Catalina, Gig'em 247 will be the entire hour on Wednesdays now, noon till 1. The student athlete profile. I did this in the past, but it's been a long time. Riley Flurkey, my former producer, Riley Flurkey, the infomaniac, sports, you hear mornings, Ag Minute, is going to be in charge of that. She'll be interviewing different student athletes from across all the sports. We're going to learn about them as students and Aggies. The upcoming season, the next game. No, that's not really the student athlete profile. Who they are as Aggies. And what's it like being a student while being an athlete? That's really what it's about. That'll be Wednesdays, 1 o'clock hour. And that starts a week from Wednesday. So there's a lot going on with the fall edition. And you know what? I'm still finalizing things. Mitch Light, The Athletic. Braden Gall, 440 Sports. Adding Josh Kendall of The Athletic to be our NFL guy every Friday at 1. That is official. He starts a week from Friday. So 1 to about 1:30. top stories, NFL, Cowboys, Texans. And then look at the top 3-4 games, Texans, Cowboys, of course. We're going to have fun, folks. So I'm fired up. Like, I'm spitting nails right now. Fired up. Football is here. Matter of fact, speaking of football, let me give you a heads up here. Tomorrow at 1, A&M football head coach Mike Elko is going to have his fall camp kickoff press conference. You can listen live here on the Louie Bellina Show. You can listen live here on the Zone, 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. You can listen on the Zone app. You can listen at radioagaland.com, and you can tell Alexa, play Zone 1150. So heads up already. Tomorrow, Tuesday, Mike Elko, 1 o'clock, live fall camp kickoff press conference. Listen here on the Louie Bellina Show. Listen on the Zone. Wednesday's the first practice. Football is here. Why do I feel like I'm hearing patriotic music play in my head and I see fireworks in front of me? If I'm seeing fireworks in front of me, I probably should turn off the microphone and go find a medic, but I'm just too fired up to leave right now. I'm not leaving the Charles Schwab studio. I'm fired up. And again, just a tinge of sadness. I am not sure how your summer's going, because for the rest, pretty much of the world, you still got about 3 solid weeks left in your summer before your kids go back to school. For me, it's football time. Let's go. But I had a phenomenal, fantastical summer. Now, I'm going to, fair, open law act disclaimer. This upcoming weekend will kind of be pretty epic. Thursday night, going to see Johnny Cougar Mellencamp down at the Woodlands. My best friend, Casey 18-wheeler. And then on Saturday, I'm going back to the Woodlands to see the Black Crow. So 2 concerts in 3 days. I don't want to act like, tragedy here. So I still have some summer fun left. But it was an amazing 2 months. I'm rested. I'm recharged. I'm ready to fight puppies. I'm ready to break a whiskey bottle over my head. I'm ready to run through a paper mache wall. Let's go. Here is the blueprint. This is how we do between now and 2 o'clock. We have 2 more players from SEC Media Days, and we call it a wrap. 11:35 is Alabama. 12:35 is Missouri. On the Louie Bellina Show, we hear from every coach the Aggies will square off against in league play. And remember, we expanded to 9, added an extra one, and we also hear 1 player from every team the Aggies will square off against. So, 11:35 Bama, a player. 12:35 Mizzou, a player. Coming up at 12 o'clock, he's back, Logan Lee. He played basketball at A&M. He coached at A&M, Kentucky, and Paris Junior College. I found that out last week. And he will join us 12 o'clock inside the Charles Schwab studio. And you might be asking yourself, Well, we caught up last week, and it was awesome. But we still need to talk about this Bahamas 3 games. Matter of fact, a note for you. 9 minutes ago, their first game in the Bahamas tipped off. They're going against Victoria. I assume that's not an individual, but a university. But Logan and I need to talk about the value of these 3 games, what really can be gained. We didn't get even a chance to dip into the schedule, the toughest stretch, the non-con, things like that. So Logan Lee is back at 12 o'clock, joins me inside the Charles Schwab studio. At 1 o'clock, Brett Ciancia of Pick 6 Previews. And he joined us SEC Media Day Monday, and we did the A&M SEC preview. He joined us last Monday, and we did the rest of the P4. Today, with Brett Ciancia Pick 6 Previews, we really need to jump into college football playoffs. Not just the 12 teams Pick 6 says, but the pool of teams. So that's at 1 o'clock. At 1:35, he's a friend of mine, and I think most of the community knows him, but Chris Southard is going to join me, and he's looking for officials in the Brazos Valley. I'm going to let him give you the details. I've known Chris, I feel like forever, one of the good dudes. He did color with me when I was back in my A&M softball days. But his history in this town is ancient. I don't know what he hasn't done, matter of fact. But I'll let him give you the details. 1:35. He'll join me inside the Charles Schwab studio. So there you go. Louie Bellina Show, fall. Louie Bellina Show on a Monday. Louie Bellina Show presented by CC Electric. And anytime today, you want to text me or Logan or Brett, text 979-693-1150. I got the inbox open. I'm staring at it now. 979-693-1150. Questions, comments, opinions. And look, on the Louie Bellina Show, yeah, Aggie football is life. We love our Becky ball. We love our Aggie softball. We love our Aggie baseball. We just, Astros, Rangers. Astros! Holy cow. They swept the Rangers. Rusty and I were talking last Thursday. And you know, Rusty was saying this is the series of the year. And I made the statement, well, only if there's a sweep either way. Because other than a sweep, 2 out of 3 still, and the way it's the 500 West, I didn't think so. Well, guess what happened this weekend? The Astros swept the Rangers. The Astros never trailed in 3 games. The Astros absolutely obliterated the Texas Rangers. Like, I want to say nail coffin, but if this season, from the Astros fan perspective, has taught you anything, it ain't over until it's over. Until the fat lady has sung, gone hoarse, and lost her voice, it ain't over. Astros were 11 under 500. After the All-Star break, the Astros got swept by Baltimore. I was throwing dirt on the grave. So, I don't want to say it's over, but man, did this weekend feel like some kind of funeral, some kind of statement, because the Astros swept the Rangers. The Astros went from second place to a 2.5 game lead over the Rangers in the West. And they have the tiebreaker. I mean, it's insane what this weekend meant. And again, they did it in dominant fashion, never trailed in the series. Yordan Alvarez, who we know is the MVP, the steal of home Saturday, not steal home, sorry. It was a wild pitch that just didn't really get that far away. This guy shouldn't be running anywhere. He shouldn't even mile jog. With his injury history, he shouldn't run to the water fountain. But does that tell you, like, of all the homers, he's hitting balls that are still in the air. That's how hard. And he went 4 for 5 in the Sunday. But the steal Saturday, the wild pitch taking home. That's how into it. That's how MVP he is. Oh, man. I went to the Saturday game. Me and Ryan Starr, Friday host, Chip Howard Sports Talk, we went to the game together. It was an adventure. I'm just going to tell you that. Saturday was an adventure. I'll give you the quick version. Saturday, Ryan and I went to Tomball, where we hooked up with a mutual friend. And some people might remember Audrey Rose. It's been a while now, but Audrey Rose used to be Candy 95 Middays. She is one of the greatest human beings I've ever met in my life. When she was here, Brian Broadcasting, we were office mates. We did lunches. We hung out. Great person. One of the most incredible human beings. And even though she left, went to Houston doing radio there, where she's still crushing it, we keep in touch all the time. And I'm like, I had in Houston. She lives between Houston and Tomball. If you've never been to Tejas Chocolateria and Barbecue in Tomball, I'll meet and eat there any day of the week. So Ryan knew Audrey because when Audrey went to her station in Houston, that's where Ryan worked. And then Ryan ended up here, in Brian Broadcasting. And he's like, you know Audrey? You know Audrey. What? That kind of thing. So anyway, got to hook up with a great friend, eat amazing barbecue, and then we go to the Astros game. And the Astros had Jose Altuve outfield bobblehead doll, which he no longer plays. But I get a Jose Altuve bobblehead doll, which any day you get an Altuve bobblehead doll is the best day ever. We're driving down to the game, and we come across this promotion, not a promotion, but a promo for a Yordan Alvarez limited edition only on sale Saturday bobblehead doll. And they're doing it because it was the 10th anniversary of the trade for Yordan Alvarez. Josh Field for Yordan Alvarez. Here's the question for any Astro fan, by the way. What was a greater steal? Larry Anderson for Jeff Bagwell or Josh Field for Yordan Alvarez? And it's not just for Astro fan. Any baseball aficionado that wants to tackle that, feel free to text me. The inbox is open at 979-693-1150. But, and again, Larry Anderson for Jeff Bagwell or Josh Fields for Yordan Alvarez. Saturday was the 10th anniversary. So they were doing this limited edition. And Ryan and I and you could only buy it at the Astros merch store inside of Dyken Park. And we're going, so we're both going to buy it. Well, they only made 150. And I'm like, man, that thing's, with the people that would pre-buy it that have Astros connections, if they only made 150, they're going to pre-sell, VIPs and stuff. There's only going to be 5 in the store. There's no way we're going to get one. And they were $150 for a bobblehead? No, 100. It was either 100, but I'm paying 100 for a bobblehead doll. So that broke my heart. And I'll wrap this up because I know your interest level only goes so far, but it was either the second or third inning. I think it was the second. These Jumbotron contests they do. And they're having these dance-off for the kids. And the kid above us wins. So there's Ryan and I on the big old jumbo Dyken Park Tron because we're cheering for the kid. The kid's having a good time. Most days I don't have a cold, cruel heart. So, and sure enough, it's caught on video and I shared it on my Twitter X account. But yeah, me and Ryan are up on the Dyken Park Jumbotron because the kid literally above my right shoulder wins the dancing contest. So they have him dancing. There I am. And then with the congratulations, you're a winner thing on the big Jumbotron. So yeah, what a Saturday. I get to say hi to a great friend, eat some of the best barbecue in town, go to the Astros, Astros destroy the Rangers, get an Altuve bobblehead doll, and you make the video Jumbotron. I couldn't sleep for minutes after I got home. Up next when we return, okay. We'll begin the Louie Bellina Show on a Monday. We'll begin the Louie Bellina Show presented by CC Electric on the Zone. We're going to have fun, folks.
Spend your summer with the Zone.
Summer. Yeah.
The Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM, where football has no off-season.
The Louie Bellina Show from inside the Charles Schwab studio, just getting started on a Monday. Well, if you wrap up SEC Media Days, 11:35 Bama, 12:35 will be Mizzou. Coming up at 12 o'clock, Logan Lee joins me inside the Charles Schwab studio. Buckyball. Speaking of Buckyball, that'll kick off the Maroon and White Notebook. They're underway. 11 a.m. They took on, they're taking on currently Victoria. Game day. 3 straight days, 3 games, scrimmages, call it what you want, exhibitions in the Bahamas. And when Logan joins me, I do want to ask him kind of the actual impact. I've always had these rule of thumbs, things I've always heard. I don't want to hear, I want to know. And we'll talk about that and more. Logan Lee, Aggie Hoops, Buckyball at 12 o'clock. And really enjoyed Luke Evangelist, Texags, Twitter X. He's there. They sent him to the Bahamas. And, if you want to follow him, Twitter X, you can get some behind the scenes, get some great footage and some more details. If you really like, we'll say, hardcore Buckyball, let's go. Last week, while I was gone, they announced Friday, the Maroon Out game is going to be Friday the 27th. That's Black Friday. That's Texas. That's perfect. And we now have the full slate of games. We have the Maroon Out against the Longhorns, Black Friday. That would have been Black Friday. Should have been the Blackout game. It does not matter. So A&M, Texas, Friday is the Maroon Out game. And I like the press release on this. They put a little history behind it. The Maroon Out tradition began in 98. It was the Nebraska game. Fans were encouraged to wear maroon, creating a sea of maroon. And then the Daily Nebraskan, in their write-up of the game, used the phrase Maroon Out. And from there, it grew into the student-led tradition of the Maroon Out game. Something that was different, and I'm into the little details. Did you notice that like each day last week, we got a different announcement? The 150, the red, white, and blue out, the blackout game. And then Friday ended it with the maroon out game. It was very NFL because the NFL spreads out their announcements to get the maximum of value of each announcement. And the week before the players report, the week after SEC media days, and I don't know if A&M planned it that way. I thought it was a brilliant way to continue the attention momentum because you had SEC media days the week before, and Elko and the players spoke. So if you're an Aggie fan, you had some kind of injection of excitement of maroon and white. Last week, every day was one of the announcements. They could have just done. It's not like they were waiting till 2 p.m. and that's when they finalized the details. So they had to wait to make the announcement. I'm sure these things have been done for a while. So I felt it was brilliant the way it was done. Each day, a nugget of love. Each day, something for the fans to go, cool, cool, cool. And it just keeps pushing us along during the off season. Because now this week, tomorrow, Elko, 1 o'clock, live. You listen here on the Louie Bullion Show. You can listen on the Zone. Mike Elko, and then after Elko, players. So players report, Elko live at 1, listen here on the Louie Bullion Show, and then the players practice Wednesday. And instead of having all the momentum of SEC media days and then, radio silence, nothing, I like the way they did the announcements. We got the blackout Tennessee November 14th, the maroon out Texas Longhorns Black Friday. Arkansas is the A&M's 150 game. And then September 12th, Arizona State will be the red, white, and blue out remembrance. One per day. Little details. Tony Catalina, Gig'em 247, who, big fan. And starting this Wednesday, he will be the entire hour on Wednesdays. More Tony Catalina is a good thing. He did something fun. It goes along with the whole, okay, fall camp is here. And he did his 5 players he's most excited to watch in preseason camp. And I really, for myself, hadn't started thinking in those terms. When you're watching practice, they're in shorts. They're going at half speed. You can't hit quarterbacks. There's certain rules that go along with it. And I was thinking to myself, yes, why are you talking to yourself? Aren't you concerned you might have a problem? Should you get help for this right now? Is this healthy? So I stopped talking to myself, and then I just started writing things down. It's way healthier than talking to yourself. And what players would I want to look at? And, the usual suspects, Marcel Reed, practice will tell me nothing. I need to know if he can handle the pressure of things. Because I still don't know exactly what happened to him in Texas and Miami. I don't want it to be that he can't handle the pressure. Because no amount of getting him friendly coaches and catering to him can solve that. If the answer was he can't handle the pressure, I don't think you can fix that. If the pressure was, if the answer was he just needs another developmental phase, oh man, he developed so much from 1 to 2. You can get past that easily. And all the changes made are going to be brilliant. So, but we don't know what happened, Texas, Miami, because he was so horrific in those 2 games that it's a baffling mystery for me. And the other players, is it Ricky Gibson III, the Tennessee player? The talk and buzz and scouting reports on him, I want him to look different because he sounds different. And players that are different are kind of very noticeable. They stand out on the field, whether it's their strides or how comfortable they are compared to others. So, and these are the players I'd want to see. So I want to see him, Gibson. Oh, and Ray Coney. Yeah. Until you get him into SEC play, so that whole step up in competition philosophy theory about him. But that's fine. When it's out there and you're at exhibition and stuff, if he's a coast-to-coast linebacker, then in 3 quarters time, he should be 100% coast-to-coast. Like, I should see him at the point of attack on every snap because it's not SEC play. It's practice. See, that's how my mind and vision works. At the minimum, he should be a practice team All-American. So those are the kind of players for me. Those are the players most excited to watch in preseason camp. And to be clear, I'm not a very good practice, exhibition, camp watcher, follower. I live in a world that's constantly has sports in it. I am a sports junkie, addict, hardcore. So while there's real sports, I don't want practice. Exhibitions. I don't get excited. I don't watch preseason football and NFL. I don't watch spring training baseball. It does. If anything, it's a negative. It doesn't get me excited. It turns me the other way. I have had friends who are NFL preseason junkies. I would go over for the beer and the brats, but man, I would not be able to watch the games. And they're just third or fourth quarter. Fourth quarter of an NFL exhibition game, right? Preseason game. And these are guys that they're pulling from the concession stands. Forget not making the roster. Guys not making the roster are already playing in the second quarter of those games. But I digress, don't I? Maroon and White Notebook on the Louie Bellina Show. I'm not the recruiting expert. I just know A&M missed out on 2 kids that they were, targeting. 4-star athlete Amir Sears, and he was ESPN's top uncommitted prospect in the 27 cycle, pledged to Miami on Friday. He ends up the top-ranked member of Mario Cristobal's latest class. Now, fascinating, Amir Sears reclassified. He was originally a 28 kid, reclassified to 27. And reclassification put him as the 25th prospect and Florida's 5th-ranked recruit in the class. But again, LSU, Michigan, A&M. But Sears picked Miami. And then, that was Friday. On Saturday, the number 3 running prospect in the 27 class, the number 3, picked Texas. Landon William Callis, ESPN's number 46 overall recruit. 5'8", 185, Richmond, Texas. And he ends up the second-ranked pledge among the 22 that have committed to the Longhorns. The number 1 kid in the class, the 5-star receiver, they got back in November, Easton Royal. Now, according to ESPN Recruiting, William Callis picked Texas. There was late interest, Missouri and A&M, and then I see Houston, SMU. So we'll say this came down to Texas, Missouri, and A&M. But Callis picked Texas. He's the reigning Gatorade Texas Football Player of the Year. His gene pool is insane. Cousin of former Oregon State playmakers Jaquez and James Rogers. Both of them were All-Americans. I remember them well. Freak athletes. And his uncle is former Colorado All-American Michael Lewis, who spent 9 years in the NFL, first-team All-Pro in 2004. Since June 1st, the Longhorns have 14 pledges, 10 from the ESPN Top 300. Longhorns currently number 3 in the recruiting cycle, and I think all of us know who's number 1, right? Texas A&M, in case you were wondering. Up next, when we return, SEC Media Days. We got 2 teams left to hear players from. Up next, that's Alabama. You're listening to, thank you for being a part. This is the Louie Bellina Show presented by CC Electric, Monday on The Zone.
Listen to The Zone on the Zone app. Thanks to Loyalty Plumbing. The pros at Loyalty Plumbing are ready to serve you 24/7. 24/7. For big emergencies or small.
It is the Louie Bellina Show presented by CC Electric. Residential, commercial, industrial services. Man, it's what they do at CC Electric. We are 2 teams away from wrapping up SEC Media Days. We're listening to a player from each team. Time to go full Alabama, and this is Ryan Coleman Williams from SEC Media Days. What he had to say.
Questions? We'll start right here on the front row.
That is low. Come on now. Pump up the volume.
With WBRC in Birmingham, what do you hope to prove this season as you try to make it a good year?
Honestly, just going into this year, my main focus is, just trying to be a consistent guy day in and day out. And, with the work that I put in, obviously the results will show for themselves. So really just being the best version of myself day in and day out for my squad and for myself.
Front row on the aisle.
Ryan, what's the biggest difference that you've noticed in yourself through your growth from your first start against Western Kentucky in 2024 to what will be your first start this year against East Carolina, both on the field and through your mindset?
Really just, with this game, you learn so much, whether that's, what inside zone is or, it's so many things that you can learn from this game. So just enjoying the process of learning and, taking everything that I've learned from then until now, and just being able to move fast because I've been through the things that I've been through to be able to learn and play at a high pace.
Second row in the end.
Leo Haggerty, Amped Up Sports Draft Nation here in Tampa. Team goals obviously at the top of your list. What are your individual goals that you aspire to get to help get to those team goals?
Honestly, for myself, one of the biggest things that has always been important to me is being a team captain for my squad. So I think with that it just allows me an opportunity to it's like an extra chip on your shoulder to just be able to like I said, be my best self because obviously I know the work that I have to put in from now into the first game and even throughout the season. So really just focusing in on that, but. I know the individual accolades will handle themselves, so I guess I haven't put too much thought into that.
Right side, third row, and then pass the microphone to the right.
Abby Miller with the Reflector from Mississippi State. Compared to your freshman year, last season wasn't the best. Looking back at the previous stats, some people are saying that it's the NCAA cover curse. What do you think about that, and how do you plan to prove these people wrong?
I don't believe in anything like that, but definitely, there's a lot of distraction whenever you're at the top of your game or, whenever people feel like you're at the highest of the high. So honestly, just taking all of my experiences, and trying to learn and be my best self and really just focus on, what got me here, and that's the work. So.
Second row, and then pass it over your shoulder, please.
Nathan King, 24/7 Sports. Wanted to ask you about one of your former Saraland teammates that now joins you in the SEC, Deshaun Spencer. What made him a dynamic player for you guys at Saraland, and how do you see that translating for him in the SEC?
Just like that's what we breed in Saraland. We breed workhorses. We depend on each other, and we go to work day in and day out, and just focus on the work, and all of the results will show for themselves, just like they did at the end of his season last year, and just like they will, in this upcoming season, I believe.
Third row on the aisle, then pass it to the left.
Hey Ryan, Kim Lejeune, WAK out of Montgomery, Alabama. Can you just talk a little about your freshman season, kind of a phenomenal season, and then last year maybe a little bit down. Can you just talk kind of what have you been doing this off season specifically to kind of go into this season, a little bit like freshman?
Okay, so my freshman year, everything was, fast-paced. I did a lot of learning. So really just taking those things that I did right throughout my freshman year and, taking the things that I could have did better in my sophomore year and taking those things and, just building the best version, the best plan for myself, going into this year and just trying to replicate it day in and day out.
On the left on the aisle.
Yeah, hey Ryan, Evan Kamiko, News 9, Oklahoma City. You guys beat the Sooners last year at the college football playoff at their place. What do you remember were challenging in that game in Norman last year?
Obviously not starting the game we wanted to. They got out to an early lead. Obviously not allowing that to happen again because they're a very good team, just like all games in the SEC. But, just being resilient and clawing back and, understanding that there's 4 quarters to a game. And, we have to take the positive and the negative from that. And, you also don't want to be on the other side of that, have a game, pretty much over and then, allow the opponent to do that because we've done that as well. So, just taking all the lessons from that game and, just trying to build on them going into this year.
Third row on the right.
Hey Ryan, Lindsey Bonner, WAKA out of Montgomery, Alabama. There's a lot of talk right now about conference championship games potentially going away. You've had a lot of experience in the SEC championship game. How do you feel about the potential of maybe that being no more?
Honestly, for me, that's higher than my pay grade. But I just love playing football. So any opportunity I get to play football, obviously I would love to do it. And just thinking about growing up and watching the SEC championship, there's been a lot of plays and a lot of amazing moments in that game. So obviously I would like to play in it, but it's like I said, it's bigger than me.
On the aisle, then pass it over your shoulder.
Tyler Shaw with KBTX and Bryan College Station. Your former teammate Isaiah Horton, now with the Aggies. Just kind of, what kind of a player is he, and what does he bring to a wide receiver room?
Man, a lot of energy. He's a high energy guy. I'm super proud of him. The man he's become. Even over just that past year of knowing him. But yeah, he brings a lot of energy. He's gonna make the plays. A consistent guy. He's gonna work day in and day out. And I'm just excited for what he gets to show.
Back on the fifth row.
Excuse me. Julian Mitchell, WVTM 13 in Birmingham. Ryan, obviously, Coleman in your name, the number change, you've talked about it a bit, but I'm interested, those changes, the other changes in your life, how that's shaped your perspective as you enter this season on the game and on life.
Really, it just allows me to, focus on what's important to me, just because, I have people in my corner that, have been there the entire time and, have stepped up in ways that, I couldn't even imagine. So really just paying homage to them and, just trying to be my best self this year.
2 final questions will go on the end, and they'll come right up front.
Freshman year, you and Jalen Miller were kind of like the dynamic duo on the field. Do you have a similar bond with the quarterback room this year?
Definitely. With, this being my 3rd year and having a different quarterback every year, it's a growth opportunity just because, if I had the opportunity to play in the National Football League, sometimes that might be the case as well. So really just trying to maximize the time that I can spend with my quarterbacks just because, obviously on Saturdays, we're going to need that time put in.
Final question.
Ryan, speaking of the National Football League, I know it's a long way out until the end of the season and time to start making decisions, but have there been any conversations yet between you, your family, anybody in the Alabama program about whether or not you're ready to take that next step to the NFL, or are you planning to take a 4th year in college, or are you going to go straight to the NFL after this season?
Honestly, for me, I've just been focusing on, getting ready for fall camp, if I'm being, just honest about it. But, I get my degree this December, and, that's super exciting for me. So really just focusing in on, this season and getting my degree. And then after that, like you said, there would be decisions to be made. But I'm just excited for right now.
Ryan, good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was Ryan Coleman Williams, Alabama. We are one team, one player left from the end of SEC Media Days. Because on the Louie Bellina Show, we hear from every coach SEC the Aggies are going to square off against, and we hear one player from every team the Aggies are going to square off against. That was Ryan Coleman Williams, Alabama at 12:35. Mizzou. When we return, up next, more Maroon and White Notebook. We'll wrap up our first hour together on a Monday. This is the Louie Bellina Show from inside the Charles Schwab studio. Monday on the Zone. Low cost, full service, best of all local. That is Schwab. And you can visit Mark Sim. Wait, who? He's our local. I said best of all local. He's our local Charles Schwab agent representative right here in College Station. Not, somewhere in New York and we're just one of 1 million. No, he's Bryan College Station, Brazos Valley. That's what he cares about. Walk into the office, shake his hand, sit down, look him in the eye. Local. Find him online. Go get answers to your questions. Just go learn more. Schwab.com/College Station. Schwab.com/College College Station.
The Louie Bellina Show from inside the Charles Schwab studio. Fun is allowed and sports are fun. Weekdays 11 to 2 on The Zone.
Still to come, just ahead on the Louie Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric. Free estimates, military, and veteran discounts. That's what they do at CC Electric. Still to come, 12 o'clock, Logan Lee, former player, basketball A&M, former coach, A&M Kentucky, and Paris Junior College. Oddly enough. I don't know how that fits. And he also officiated the game. 12 o'clock, Logan Lee inside the Charles Schwab studio. And at 1 o'clock, Brett Ciancia, Pick 6 previews. We got to do college football playoff predictions and more. He joins me on the D4 Land Services Hotline, like most guests do. That's all still to come. Want to re-enter? We're still in the Maroon and White Notebook. This feels a little late. Maybe it's updated. I don't know, but CBSSports.com, top coaches. They did by conference and, of course, the national rankings. The top college football coaches. A re-ranking and updating of the ranking. I'm not sure. We've had these all off-season long. Mike Elko, 5 in the SEC, 14 in the nation. Now, I think it's low, but maybe I'm drinking maroon Kool-Aid. I am a very pro Mike Elko college football fan. And I'm not saying this as a maroon and white Aggie football fan. I just think that Mike Elko, I've went over it, very modern, not stubborn. I see him update his game about 2 to 3 times a year. Identifies problems, actually does something about them, doesn't bury his head in the sand. I think he's highly intelligent. And he's not too stubborn in his belief system. Oh, we've seen stubbornness, especially in year 1, but that's not stubbornness what we saw in year 1. That's called, this is what I believe. Oh, here's what the SEC makes you do. And he adjusted. So I got to quit using this phrase, but I will buy all the Mike Elko stock you have. They put him at 5 in the SEC, 14 in the country. He will quickly move up the SEC ranks with 2 things. He could be number 2 in the SEC entering next season. He can move from 5 to 2. I'll tell you why. 1, they have Sark at 2. This is the make or break year for Sark. As Dave Bartu, College Football Matrix, pointed out, his grade has declined as an offensive play caller. And if you're going to be the OC and head coach, it's the same thing. They went and gave him a $45 million roster. They went all in. Who's they? The alums, the people that pay for things at Texas. BMA, big money alums. I don't know if he has to win it all. That's fake. But if they don't make the college football semifinal men, they're pretty much done with him. So either he goes and makes the Final Four, or he's going from 2 in the SEC, 6 in the country, to one of those coaches that spirals down 5 spots outside the top 10. Kalen DeBoer is 3, and it's because everything he gets grade-wise is Washington. When do we update for his SEC reality? He's 8 in the country, 3 in the SEC. He's another one. Let's say they go 9-3 and miss the college football playoff. He's been at the college football playoff in Bama. Kalen DeBoer's not a bum. You have to temper like, oh no, it's so bad. It's not that bad. He's just not Nick Saban. How many coaches are going to be in contention to be considered the greatest college football coach in the history of sport? Because Nick Saban is number 1 all time. He is the greatest college football coach to ever coach college football. So how brutal is that? That's the problem with DeBoer, is you're not Nick Saban. Oh, no. If we could take out and just do everything he did in the SEC at another SEC school, I don't know if he'd be 3, but it wouldn't be like, well, you're going to be fired soon. And that's the problem. That's DeBoer's life. It's so brutally unfair, but it's reality. So if Elko, step 1, go win your 10 games, go back to the college football playoff back-to-back years at a school that has no history of that level of success called Texas A&M. Step 1, he's got to win his 10. And then Sark and DeBoer both this year can dispel their own myths of greatness. I think Elko, if he wins his 10 this year, he'll be in the top 10 nationally, period, entering next year. I look at the coaches in front of him in the SEC. I still, with Kiffin at 4, I don't get it. I disagree with it completely. That's why I keep going with the Elko at 5. And this has been a whole offseason. This is month 8, the 3rd day of August. So for 8 months now, I have disagreed with this narrative, whether it was CBSSports.com, MonkeysLoveRadio.com, I don't know, all these different alphabet soups. I'm not going to put Kiffin in front of Elko. Just not doing it. Sorry. The whole thing with Sark and DeBoer and Kirby Smart. Okay. Sark has been to the college football playoff more. He's won more college football playoff games. Kalen DeBoer has been to the national championship game. Kirby Smart's Kirby Smart. You can't fight those. You can try, but I think Elko's, stock up, and argue the other two are probably stock down. So we could see these swaps coming as early as next summer. But I'm not putting Kiffin in front of DeBoer. Let me ask you this. If you're doing a draft right now for your college football team, and we got the 5 coaches I just said, what order do you think the coaches would go in? Because it'd still be Kirby Smart 1. But would you take, as the number 2 overall selection, Elko, Sark, or DeBoer? I'm pretty dang sure that 8 out of 10 people would take Elko too. I know they would. When we return, Bucky Ball, Logan Lee, former player, joins me in the studio.